Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Parks, Recreation, and Community Resources Advisory Commission March 3rd meeting. Dave, can I get you to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Happy to. Please rise as you are able and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Amari, roll call, please.
Commissioner Tullis,
Present.
Commissioner Warner,
Here.
Commissioner Maroney, here. Vice Chair Horowitz,
Here.
Chair Elman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Amari. Next, we have announcements of upcoming city events. Does anyone have anything to share? I just want to remind everyone that it is March, so we do have the parade coming up on March the 13th. 14th. Don't show up on the 13th. That would be bad. All right. Then next we have presentations.
Sorry, Chair, we do have upcoming city events slide. I think the presentation is loading.
Okay, Brian, you're on.
All right, for our upcoming permitted special events in the city of Hermosa Beach for the month of March, we have Interscholastic Beach Volleyball League Tournament Series on March 1st. We have Beach Tennis Tournament taking place this weekend on March 6th through the 8th. As mentioned, St. Patrick's Day Parade is back in Hermosa Beach on March 14th. SoCal Beach Foundation will also be available on the beach on March 14th, as well as at the end of the month on March 28th. AU Southern Pacific Grand Prix Series on March 15th and on March 29th. And lastly, California Beach Volleyball Association's tournament on March 22nd. Next slide, please. The city-hosted excursions for the month is a special month because we have two available for the community. This is a charter bus company which is supported transportation to participants and excursion sites throughout the community from the Hermosa Beach Community Center. On March 21st, we have the Long Beach Symphony. And on March 22nd, we have Beetlejuice, the musical at the Pantages Theaters. For more information on how to sign up and register for these excursions, you can visit the website at hermosabeach.gov/recreation. Next slide. And the upcoming theater productions at the Hermosa Beach Community Theater, we have every Sunday and Wednesday ongoing rehearsals for Family Theater Seussical Junior performance. On March 1st, we held the United USA West Coast Regional Pageant. This weekend, we have the Wonder Note hosting their winter recital on March 6th through March 8th. Hermosa Beach School District will be hosting a fundraiser with the Glenn Miller Orchestra on Tuesday, March 10th. Redondo Oddfellows present Proof 2 on Saturday, March 21st. And on Saturday, March 28th, we have the Rotary Club of Redondo Beach Film Festival. And inside the Second Story Theater, we have April Fool's Comedy Improv on March 14th. We have Rake Stage Productions performing on March 20th to 22nd, as well as the 27th through 29th. And lastly, Remo Vision's Comedy Night on March 28th. For more information, you can visit city website at hermosabeach.gov/theater. And that concludes our presentation.
Well, it looks like we're busy, Brian. Next, presentations. It doesn't look like we have any presentations tonight, so we'll move on to public comment. Amari?
At this time, for members of the public to address the commission on items on and not on the agenda, but within commission's jurisdiction. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes and will be taken in person and via Zoom. A reminder that if you address the commission on a discussion item, you will not be able to address the commission on the same item when it is heard at a later part of the meeting. Seeing there's no one. No one on Zoom?
All right, well, we can move ahead then. We're going fast. Commissioner comments. Does,
Are you going to give an update later? You want to do the youth program thing? It's part of, okay. All right. All right, I'll give a quick update because we have chosen the youth squad. It is 13 members strong. We have representatives from grades 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. We're first meeting this Thursday. We'll meet for an hour and a half. We'll ask them for some input on youth programming and on our facilities. That meeting will look a lot like what we did for the Park Master Plan. We will develop a survey from that and ask them to distribute that to their peers. Then they will all come in April, hopefully, and you'll be introduced to them all, and they'll tell us what they did at the last meeting. Okay.
Yeah, it was really fun to interview them. Very impressive group of kids. They all had ideas, full of ideas on programs, what they'd like to see, and I think we have a good combination of kids. There were a couple from a Christian school and then the middle school, and a lot from high school. So I'm looking forward to working with them and hearing all their good ideas.
can you let us know what schools the kids are from? I'm assuming we have Hermosa Valley.
Hermosa Valley, Maricosta, and I believe it's Ambassador Christian School in Redondo Beach.
okay.
Yeah, we have one girl from there.
Okay, well, that's great.
You've actually met 3 of them because the 3 young men who came to our meeting in January to advocate for the pool are all on the squad.
Excellent, excellent.
Can I ask a question?
You can, yes, of
Thank
course.
you. Just for clarification, the meeting on Thursday is a closed meeting. It's like a subcommittee with the squad. Okay. Just letting everybody know.
Yeah, not related to the youth subcommittee. I did visit the Kelly Courts with Brian and talk through a few logistical items and questions he had and thoughts about, logistics around how people will wait for open play courts and what other equipment might be needed and things like that. So I appreciate that invite and the ability to help be a sounding board for that. I also did have a meeting, some of the pool stakeholders, advocates reached out and asked to talk with me. So I did have a meeting with them, heard a little bit more about what they're trying to do and gave them some my own feedback and direction, which is not dissimilar to what Brian recommended last month at the meeting.
Great. Regarding the pickleball courts, there is a new, I don't even know what to call it, fencing around the fence. It's black. Is this permanent?
I think you're referring to the windscreens on the
Yes.
fencing.
So, okay,
Correct, that is permanent.
okay. I'm sorry that we had to do that. I think it makes it look very unfriendly, and you can't see what's going on the courts. I'll just share that bit of information. Next.
I have one comment. I just wanted to say that I went to Hermosa Beach Little League opening day on Saturday, and it was just an amazing ceremony, and they had record numbers, 570 players, 57 teams, and 60 local sponsors. And shout out to Evan and Mark for putting it on. They had dignitaries or city council members on the field, and then all the kids came out and circled the bases or ran the bases. There's like a term for it. I can't
No,
remember.
they run that, they have been waiting all year
Yeah.
to run the bases.
Yeah, and it was really cool because you had the police officers there and other people, and they gave them high fives. And then they, a lot of them went to Hector's Tacos. So it's an amazing thing at Clark Field. I remember going there when I was young, and I think we had maybe 12 teams max. And now it's just, grown exponentially. And they have girls on teams, which wasn't the case when I
goodness.
was growing up. So, yeah, that was a good time.
In fact, everyone should come down on Friday nights and have Hector's Tacos or burritos and watch the games. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Do any commissioners have a motion or wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? All right.
Make a motion?
Go for it, Tracy.
There's just one correction involving who was present at the meeting. So I would like to make a motion to approve the action minutes, just noting the absence of Director Nichols for that meeting.
Can I get a second?
I can second that.
Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you very much. Next, public hearings. We don't have any public hearings tonight, so we're going to just move right along to matters for commission consideration. So this is a feasibility report on the designation of a location within Hermosa Beach for a dog park. Brian, you have a report?
I do, thank you, Chair Elman. Peggy will load the presentation tonight for this matter. Okay, good evening, Chair, members of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. Brian Sousa on behalf of staff, here to request that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission review and consider a recommendation to City Council regarding the feasibility of designating a location within Hermosa Beach for an off-leash dog park. Next slide. In summary, at its March 11, 2025 meeting, City Council directed staff to prepare a feasibility report regarding the off-leash dog park proposal submitted by the community organization Bark for a Park to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission prior to the City Council review. Staff has completed its review of the proposal, including evaluation of potential locations within Hermosa Beach and an examination of comparable sites in neighboring cities. Next slide. A feasibility study is a pre-project assessment to better determine the viability, practicality, and the potential for a proposed idea or project conducted before significant investment is brought upon. The Parks Master Plan adopted in November of 2024, one of the goals outlined was to advance ways to explore current recreational spaces and the feasibility to provide a dog-friendly amenities in Hermosa Beach. At City Council's March 11, 2025 meeting, during public comment, the community organization Bark for a Park requested that the city consider designating a dog park here in Hermosa Beach. Next slide. At the Commission's July 1, 2025 meeting, Bark for a Park provided a presentation outlining its case for an off-leash dog park in Hermosa Beach, including potential benefits, potential locations, design elements, and estimated costs and funding ideas. Vice Chairperson Horowitz, with support from Commissioners Maroney and Warner, requested that staff return with a future agenda item to consider the formation of a subcommittee to better evaluate the off-leash dog park proposal. At the Commission's September 2nd, 2025 meeting, staff recommended the Commission consider the creation of a community dog park subcommittee. The Commission approved the creation of the subcommittee, appointing Chair Ellman and Commissioner Warner. Next slide. As illustrated in the proposal, basic amenities for an off-leash dog park location, except for the consideration of the beach, at minimum requires the following: a double door entry system for secure access, minimum 4 to 6 feet high fencing, potable water source, waste management, shading, dog-friendly surface, eco-friendly landscaping and drainage systems, accessibility and ADA access, and clear signage that establishes the rules, procedures, release of liability, and directions to report issues and suggestions to the city. Next slide. The subcommittee was tasked with working with the staff, plus collaborating with Bark for a Park to develop a feasibility report for consideration of best practice research, which is collecting information and data from comparable cities with existing dog parks, such as their hours of operations, cost estimates for design, construction, equipment, and ongoing maintenance, funding sources, community feedback, and review of policies and procedures, as well as evaluation and site visits of the potential locations within Hermosa Beach and the on-site visits of the comparable cities and their dog park facilities. Next slide. Here's the illustration of the table included in the staff report, which Table 1 details the potential off-leash dog park locations that were considered, notably Valley Park East area location, Valley Park Southeast location, Bicentennial Park and the open green space there, Edith Rodaway Friendship Park, the open green space, the beach from Gerondo Street to First Street, and the Greenbelt section of the Greenbelt, which is between Pier Avenue and 11th Street on the east side. Table 2 is the comparable cities of the dog park facilities the subcommittee reviewed, which was the city of Manhattan Beach and their Polywog Dog Run, Redondo Beach and their Redondo Beach Dog Park, and El Segundo with their El Segundo Dog Park. Next slide. The on-site review of potential off-leash dog park locations in Hermosa Beach and off-site comparable cities consider various elements, including the basic amenities required, proximity, impacts of the current park use, the park features, existing infrastructure, and the landscape. Key takeaways from the comparable sites that were visited include El Segundo and Redondo Beach were in close proximity to residential areas. Manhattan Beach and Redondo Beach dog parks are incorporated into multi-use parks with sports fields and other park amenities in the surrounding area. El Segundo and Redondo Beach have dirt surfaces, which were previously grass landscape, with no additional lighting at the facility. Concerns exposed were large holes that were exposed in the ground from digging and leftover personal play equipment left on site. Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach had limited shade, and Redondo Beach had noticeable odors from the dog waste. El Segundo and Redondo Beach rely on public support and volunteers for most of its upkeeping. And lastly, all 3 sites lack nearby restrooms, ADA accessible paths into the facility, but all offered ample parking, which was available. Next slide. Following the completion of our best practice research and evaluation of on-site visits, the subcommittee developed a list of locations for City Council to consider of potential sites where an off-leash dog park could be incorporated based on feasibility, layouts, and the amenities criteria. Those locations are the Greenbelt, the portion of the Greenbelt identified, Edith Rodaway Friendship Park, Bicentennial Park, the beach portion identified, and Valley Park East location. Next slide. The first location discussed tonight is the Greenbelt. Potential benefits that were outlined in the best practice research and observations include the following: It is central location in Hermosa Beach. It has minimal to no impact on homes and residents in the nearby area. It is a flatter surface, natural environment with natural shading, nearby public restrooms and public parking. More easily supports ADA requirements, although further evaluation would be required. Potential to incorporate 1 or 2 sections for a small and dog park separation. High foot traffic for residents with dogs, which could potentially support also local businesses in the surrounding area. Notable potential challenges would include no lighting, which would require a dusk to dawn hours of operation, new piping installation for potable water. There is no direct access per se to the proposed location. And the Greenbelt is most notably designated as an OS1 zone, which is designated for open space and passive recreational uses, typically limiting construction of new structures or facilities that could disrupt the natural and passive character of the area. Next slide. For more background on the OS1 zoning, on June 7th of 1988, city voters approved local ballot measure Proposition D, authorizing the city to set aside funds to purchase the Santa Fe Railroad right-of-way for conversion of open space and recreational use. November 7th of 1989, City Council adopted the ordinance, which renamed the purchased property as the Greenbelt, which stands today, preserved it for the parkland and open space purposes, and mandated that all dogs be on a leash within the Greenbelt. Section 6 of this ordinance states no provisions may be amended without a vote of the public. So as a result, any amendment to allow an off-leash dog park area on the Greenbelt would require a public electoral vote, adding this to a ballot measure and a majority yes vote from the public of approval. Any ordinance revisions would only apply to a specific section of the Greenbelt designated specifically for the dog park, and it would not be recommended to amend the entire ordinance in its entirety. Next slide. Here is a visual of the location of the Greenbelt that is proposed, most notably right across us here at City Hall. Next slide. Here is more visuals of the 2 proposed locations, which would not impede or impact the current pedestrian trail. Next slide. The next location is Edith Rodaway Friendship Park. The potential benefits include, this is a flat surface with some natural shading available. There's an open green space with no conflicting park amenities. Nearby, although limited, there is nearby street parking spaces. There's existing potable water, irrigation systems, drainage, and fencing infrastructure on site already, and it's a popular location for residents to walk their dogs. Notable potential challenges, it's a compacted residential area with potential noise complaints of residents. There's no direct route into the area as of now. There's no restrooms or lighting, so again, this would have to be hours of operations from dusk to dawn. This would occupy a large section of the open green space at the park, and there's potential impacts for the annual events such as pumpkins for the park and other city programming that's permitted there. Next slide. This is a visual of the proposed location at Edith Rodaway. Next slide. The next location is Bicentennial Park. Potential benefits include it is a flat surface with natural shading. There is direct routes, options for accessibility improvements, and open green space with no conflicting park amenities. Existing potable water, irrigation systems, lighting, drainage, water stations, and fencing infrastructure already in place. And the park use is, the most common park use is local residents with their dogs. Notable challenges at this location include it's a dense residential area with potential noise complaints from residents. There's no restrooms on site, not currently ADA, with limited street parking available, and would occupy a large section of the green space at this location. Next slide. Here is a visual of the proposed location at Bicentennial Park. Next slide. Next location is the beach. section between Hondo Street and First Street. Potential benefits would include it's relatively flat, it's a less utilized open space in the area of the beach, option for limited use hours and open access zones, which would require no fencing required. There is also nearby restrooms and minimal impact to nearby residents. Notable challenges include this would likely require review and approval from the California Coastal Commission. Limited parking is available. Accessibility challenges to this location currently is not ADA compliant. There is no potable water, no irrigation, lighting, drainage, or fencing infrastructure on site. Environmental study would likely be required to assess the potential environmental impacts, including the sanitation, health, and maintenance concerns due to the sand surface and the LA County lifeguards and visitor impacts on the beach as well. Next slide. This is a visual of the proposed location in the section of the beach. Next slide. And the last location is the Valley Park East location. Potential benefits include there's natural shading available, accessible nearby pathways with open green space, there's nearby restrooms, parking lot, and street parking spaces available. Nearby, and there's nearby, I already said that, existing irrigation, lighting, and drainage infrastructure on site as well. Notable potential challenges is it is an uneven surface with steep grade slopes, as well as ADA concerns in the area. There's potential environmental impacts with larger surface tree roots that would have to be pruned or considered, and a local garden area nearby. It is located near a residential area and conflicts with city programming areas in close proximity to the playground at Valley Park. Next slide. Here is a visual of the location proposed at Valley Park East, northeast location. Next slide. So the recommendation tonight from the organization from Bark for a Park is for its preferred location to be considered in Hermosa Beach would include the Greenbelt as its primary choice, and recommends that City Council would consider Bicentennial Park as a secondary option if a ballot measure for the Greenbelt does not receive public approval. Bark for the Park has verbally agreed to assume financial responsibility for all pre-development costs for this project if approved by City Council, including but not limited to architectural design and plans, construction, supplies and equipment, and all necessary permits, inspections to be further determined once the specific location is selected. Next slide. Furthermore, Bark for the Park has requested that upon completion of construction, that the city resume full responsibility for the dog park and the ongoing maintenance. The estimated ongoing maintenance could include, but not limited to, opening and closing the facility daily and weekly cleaning, removing personal belongings from the facility, emptying waste stations and resupplying waste station bags, replacing and cleaning signage displaying the rules and regulation, filling surfacing issues and repairing fencing, seating, and other amenities, and irrigation and maintenance of surfaces, vegetations, and the landscape. Next slide. Lastly, the next steps. Once commission's reviewed tonight, the ongoing maintenance requirements for the dog park are anticipated to be notable, requiring regular attention and daily service to maintain a consistent high standard based on observations from the comparable facilities. This would require dedicated staff resources with a desire for organized community volunteer efforts, as well as ongoing operational funding to support a safe, clean, and functional environment for public use. Staff would recommend consideration of an agreement for Bark for the Park to support with ongoing facility upkeeping and funding assistance for annual repair and maintenance costs if this item was approved. Next slide. Staff would present the feasibility study and the commission's recommendation tonight to City Council at its upcoming meeting to be held on April 14, 2026. If City Council approves a location to be further considered, staff would bring back a comprehensive report at a future council meeting as a public hearing item for the public participation and formal approval. The comprehensive report will include estimated capital costs such as the site preparation and grading, fencing and gates required, surfacing, lighting, shade structures, water access, waste stations, and signage. It would also include ongoing maintenance costs, including waste removal, irrigation and turf care, equipment repair, cleaning, staff oversight, and general upkeeping. And that concludes my verbal report.
Thank you, Brian. So we'll move to ask questions, and then it's nice to see you here. I was a little worried earlier. Elka, do you want to start off with questions?
Sure. I was going to double check on Bicentennial Park. Can you tell me your reasoning why you didn't want to include that? Or was it included in the city? Did I miss it? The Bicentennial, okay.
Bicentennial was included
Okay.
as the list of feasible sites.
Okay, and then I guess my question is, you had fencing infrastructure, right? What does that refer to there? Because I know it's enclosed in 3 areas, and.
For the location of Bicentennial?
Yeah.
Yeah, so currently Bicentennial Park has walls that divide the residential area to the public space of the park. So ideally, the walls could be considered as fencing location or fencing on site that could be used for a potential location, but that would all be determined by a contractor designer.
Okay, so fencing infrastructure means there's potential to put a fence on one of those 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Utilize the wall that's already in place.
Right, and I know you had a question about El Segundo when we visited El Segundo.
Are you talking
I
to
think.
Todd?
Yeah, Todd. And whether we had asked people about the noise there at the dog park that is next to the airport.
Right.
And it's next to a couple of apartments there. And I went by yesterday because I happened to be coming home, and somebody, when we were there, it was a morning and there were apartments on the other side of the dog park, and you couldn't get access into the apartments. And then there was another group of apartments, and a woman came out, and I asked her specifically about the noise there. And she said, very rarely do you hear dogs, only when there's a big dog running around, but they also have the airport noise, so it kind of blocks out. She said she doesn't even hear anything at that park. So I wanted to let you know I did ask, and
thank you.
you're kind of wondering about that. I went back. That's it for now.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, Brian, I've got a bunch of questions, but just so we touch base on everything, can you tell me why some of these areas that we originally considered fell off the list? And that would be Community Center, East Lawn, the Water Tower, and Noble Park.
The Community Center East Lawn is used for multiple special events in the city. Because of the programming impact, it was deemed not feasible because it would be too impactful on city events, city programmings, and other city usage for the space, as well as its location on PCH, which is a high traffic zone. We just felt there was just too many concerns with that location. The Water Tower location was based on, how do I put it? Yeah, city property guidelines and what actually falls within city property and not city property and county property. So there's just not enough viable space there that would meet the standards of a dog park. By Cal Water, yes, that's correct. And the third location, I believe, was Noble Park.
Yes.
Noble Park is deemed as an OS2 zoning, which does not allow us to program or build any structure or recreation in that space, period. There's no amendment that's possible with that park.
Well, couldn't council change it?
That it's restricted on the deed
Okay.
of the property.
Walk me through Valley Park, 2 locations? I get confused because I've seen different variations of what we're talking about. We got 2 locations you've looked at Valley Park?
That is correct.
All right, so if I'm behind the Kiwanis building, I'm going to walk down the path. Is one location on the left of that path?
If you're walking down Kiwanis on the pathway, yes, to your left, that will be south. That is the south location. That was one of the proposals, the southeast location, and the other location that's mentioned as a feasible location is the east location, which I put in quotations northeast just to help. The south location, when you're walking down the pathway to your left of the south of the end of the park, that was a location originally proposed in the Bark for the Park proposal, but after on-site assessments with the subcommittee, it was deemed not feasible.
So on the feasibility list, is there 2 locations left or just one?
Only one for Valley Park.
And if I'm on that path, that's a location to my right?
Keep going to your right. Yes, it's if you are facing northbound next to the playground and right in front of the bathrooms, the location that was considered under the feasibility study is that location. It's northeast
So that's on the edge
towards Valley.
on the edge
Drive.
of the park? Are we on the edge of the park?
Towards the hillside.
Are we between the Rotary building and the bathrooms? Or are we the other side of the
Correct.
bathrooms?
Correct.
We're between there.
Correct.
All right. Okay, so I got that in my head now at least.
Well, can I just try and clarify that? Because I did have a question. If you show up your slides again, the photo of Valley Northeast, I want to make sure. Can you mind showing that again? Because it looked like the zone circled on the map, there's a quite large, fairly flat-ish area next to some picnic tables and a path that's a little farther south than that. And I was curious whether there was a reason that the consideration was just for this place tucked up against that garden on the far. So at the
Correct. So that location, it was what was originally proposed from the organization Bark for the Park. That general location that you see presented on the presentation slide in front of you. The open grass space that's within that zone is an activity zone which the city actively programs, particularly in the summertime. So in that proposed location, only the hillside would be deemed feasible because the other open green space that you see on the visual there would be too impactful to city events and programming. So we would not consider that, or at least staff would not recommend that space.
But that's the space that's on the feasible list. Yes.
That location is, but I guess I can see where the confusion is.
Well,
the box in red here.
That's because that was the original proposal from Bark for the Park.
Oh, I was talking about the area that's actually below the yellow lines. It's if you were to go further down Valley, there's actually a pretty broad grass area with a couple picnic tables and a path that goes right there. It's kind of like the bottom of a big bowl.
Correct. And Bark for the Park could probably speak on that location more. We actually met with a designer on site and reviewed that location, and the designer was actually not in support of that location. So that was not in one of the original proposals or in staff's recommendation.
All right, so
Or review.
what space in Valley is on the feasible list?
On the east location, it's tough to see if you're not on site from the aerials because the aerials doesn't, but because that whole location is covered by the trees there. It's the location within the red rectangle. And if you go, it's all underneath the trees there in some of that open grass location.
And to the very north of that is the Hermosa
Todd,
Garden Club
Todd,
garden.
Can
Sorry.
I finish my questions? I'm very confused about this location. Now, you've described to me that this is between Rotary and the bathroom, which is kind of a slightly hilly section.
Correct. But it's not the entire location. It's just a section of that location.
And I don't, do we program that area? Because I don't remember us ever having a program in that area?
There's an open bowl space in that green area within that, in the red rectangle that we're viewing today. It's an open green bowl space that we program there for our summer camp.
Like southwest to the red box, right? Am I
Correct,
right
yeah,
in
it's the
saying
backside of the amphitheater.
The backside of the amphitheater, got that. And the bowl space you're talking about is not the place with the fire pit. You're talking about actual
Yeah, it's,
green area.
yeah, next behind the fire pit as well. Yeah, that whole grass,
So you
open
use
green
that for the
space.
summer program?
We do.
Okay. All right, well, that clarifies some things for me. The green belt, are you going to keep the trees, or are we anticipating removing some trees? Because there's a lot of trees there.
I mean, that would be a design question, but staff would not recommend the removal of any trees for any proposals.
What square footage are we going to have possibly with the green belt location?
That's where the design would need to come in.
What do we think is possible?
I don't think we have measurements to share on any of the location at this point because there's so many elements that would need to be considered.
The Bark for a Park
For
letter
the-
suggested 14,000 square feet
Right.
for that area.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we would have to
you know.
have that vetted by Public Works and possibly a consultant.
And the discussion is possibly having two separate areas on the green belt? Not connected?
That's for commission and council for consideration. There's the two locations that you see in the presentation in front of you are two different sections of that green belt and that proposed locations, which could feasibly place a dog park. But if you're looking at the size and location too, you know, this almost, and I mean, Bark for the Park organization would have more intel than I would. This could also be deemed, you know, somewhat of a dog run as well, just because of the available square footage in that area.
The beach location to the south is Redondo, right? It's Redondo Beach. It butts right up against Hermosa there.
Correct.
Have we had a conversation with Redondo?
Not at this stage.
All right. And that's, the apartment buildings are in Redondo.
That's correct.
Correct. But I would like to know on the map, it's the sand area just outside of this teal box you see that's proposed here, that's
Yeah.
behind that apartment complex. That sand area is actually owned by Hermosa Beach.
Sure. And then the spot that's below is owned by Redondo. That's where the surf break is.
Correct. Directly behind that residential area, though, is Hermosa Beach property line, I believe.
And do we know what Manhattan and Redondo spend out of pocket for maintenance on an annual basis? Not staff time, just out of pocket money.
Just looking at my report here. We did not receive cost estimates for annual maintenance costs from either city. The subcommittee did reach out to all comparable cities for that information, which is illustrated, I believe, in attachment 2. But we're unfortunately unsuccessful with getting communication back with that information at this stage.
And I'll ask you this, I know the answer because I looked it up, but for the city to put a referendum initiative, a ballot measure on the November ballot, do we know when the city has to submit it?
Go ahead.
I do not. I'd have to check with the city clerk and.
I think it's August, early August.
Yeah, I was going to say late summer.
We have informed the city clerk and city management of this request, so they are aware that there is a potential request, depending on council's direction, for a potential ballot measure to be placed on the November ballot. And just to add additional context to your previous question, although we don't have the ongoing maintenance costs, the Manhattan Beach did estimate somewhere between $84,000 a year that they spend on maintenance costs with their contract services. And recently, Manhattan Beach, just in 2025, renovated their dog park. And that was a $50,000 allotment from the general fund. And Redondo Beach renovation in 2020 was $60,000. and this one just for basic repairs and replacements of equipment.
Sorry, did you say Manhattan Beach maintenance expense is 86,000, but the build is only 50?
It says the numbers that were provided from Manhattan Beach, 84,000 plus or minus for ongoing maintenance annually.
Couple things. I know Elka mentioned the El Segundo Dog Park and the one resident she spoke to, there was no complaints. With the other cities and the dog park, are they near residential areas at all?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that question?
The comparable city dog parks, are they positioned near other residential areas
Yes, they are.
beyond the El Segundo one?
Yeah, I think it was in one of my reports, Redondo Beach and El Segundo.
And do we know how the residents there feel about?
We asked the staff for
Yeah.
that feedback, solicited that feedback from staff, and we did, El Segundo mentioned little to no complaints from residents of noise. They also have the traffic pollution, noise pollution from the airport, which kind of drowns out their dog park there. It's substantially louder than the dogs barking. Redondo Beach did not provide us any feedback.
That their dog park, that's the one on 190th.
Correct.
You've mentioned no lighting as a negative in some of the parks and potential locations. And I'm curious, if there were lighting, what potentially would the hours of a dog park be? Because a lot of the locations, it would be dusk to dawn.
Yeah, I think that would just be subjected to staff and council's direction. I believe Manhattan Beach's dog park is open until 8 p.m. So lighting allows for that, which obviously a facility with no lighting would not allow
Yes.
for that use.
So the Greenbelt, you said we wouldn't remove trees. Are there other locations where we put, like in Valley Park, if that potential location was selected, would there be tree removal at any other of the locations? Bicentennial Park?
I don't think that's a question for us at this stage in recreation, but based on conversations that, with Public Works and city management, I wouldn't see there's any appetite for removal of any trees
I
in
don't
the
have
city.
one, but I was
Yeah.
wondering.
Unless obviously the city is deemed, or the tree is deemed unsafe.
Okay. And Bicentennial Park, there is the possibility of adding a restroom at a future date? Cost and logistics?
Adding a
Being
restroom at
favorable.
Bicentennial Park? I'm not aware of that unless.
It's not a
Director-
current,
No, it's not a current thing,
Project.
but could it happen? Like, is there,
Anything's possible in Hermosa Beach.
right. It would have to be a developed CIP.
okay. In terms of the grading, would you grade the Greenbelt location or Valley Park? Or would you leave it with that slight hill?
So at this point, this is a Parks and Recreation item. So we don't have the Public Works Department thoroughly reviewing all of these sites at this point. This is a very high-level presentation. So that's something that we would have to work with Public Works on
When it
if
got
commission
closer to
selects a
design.
location for us to further review and then include that information in a comprehensive report.
And then I'm curious, and I would imagine we would get there, some actual input from the subcommittee. And I think the staff report had the recommendations from the Bark for a Park group, but I'm curious how the subcommittee thoughts and research and how that formed your opinions as well. So I know we can get there, but.
All right.
Just a point of clarification for me, because my understanding was the staff report did reflect the subcommittee's output in the subcommittee decisions to rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options.
Is that-
That wasn't like a staff
that
decision.
accurate?
Yeah, I
Is
don't.
that accurate?
Correct. That was a joint effort with the subcommittee and staff. And that list is just based on, out of all the sites that were proposed, what were deemed the most feasible in Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
But at this time, staff nor the subcommittee have a recommendation for which location would is the preferred choice or which location
But they were
should
ranked in
be.
order. I mean, the staff report
Right.
said in this order,
Right.
1 through
And
5.
the beach location would not have any fencing. And would it impact the outflow?
That would be, as Director Nichols mentioned, that would have to be considered in the comprehensive study. We'd have to look at an
I'm getting
architect
ahead of myself is
design.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
Got
we
it.
just, at this stage, from a Parks and Recreation standpoint, we wouldn't be able to make that determination.
Okay.
But the assumption, as my understanding of the subcommittee and Bark for Park suggestions all along has been an open dog beach. The assumption has been no fence. That's my understanding, like to date.
That is an option available for that location.
Yeah.
That's been a practice that the other beach locations at other cities that have dogs on the beach apply pretty much like open hours, drop-in hours for pets and not a closed-off facility per se.
Can I add something on the noise issue, because you had asked about that? Santa Monica, for example, it's,
Remember, we're only asking questions right now
oh,
of staff.
okay.
Okay.
Do you want any input on the rules or anything? on
Well,
the-
I just thought maybe we'd let
Okay.
Chad go, and then we'll come back. I'm sure other
Brian,
people.
can we go back to, Brian, your slide with the requirements list? Because I hadn't seen that before, and I do have some questions related to that. And I understand this is all just the subcommittee output, assumptions. We haven't done, a detailed design yet, but there were some things on there I wanted to ask about. I guess the first one was just around the ADA requirements. Like, what ADA requirements do we actually believe have to be met here? I've heard ADA accessible to the entry in one of the documents, but it sounded like some other ADA things were implied in some of the presentations around the actual inside the facility.
Yeah, correct. And that's, I think we're referencing slide 5, Peggy, so the public can view.
Yeah.
Correct. So the ADA requirements, the state has requirements for ADA for any new builds and new facilities or any renovated facilities that we have to meet up-to-date standards. So what the ADA standards would be, we don't have that information at this time. It would just depend on the location, what's available at the locations, what's not available, and how to meet those ADA requirements. Most of the ADA requirements at this stage would be in reference to the access to the facility, how and accommodating those accessibility needs to get from the street or the car to entering the facility.
But there may be additional ADA requirements within the facility depending on,
Yeah,
I don't know.
there potentially.
Okay,
I
we
don't
just
want
don't
to
know.
rule that out
Okay,
at this
but the
stage.
only thing
It's
we're thinking
mostly
now
just
is the
to
entry.
access the facility,
Yeah. Okay.
which is like creating an ADA path into the facility, and then maybe a path to a seating area.
Okay. And then I see number 3 on here, potable water source is listed here as a requirement, but we certainly have sites without it. The beach obviously doesn't have that. So is it really a requirement, or is it like a nice to have best practice?
Yeah, based on all the best practice research that we've done for comparable studies with the cities, but also just dog park research online, all recommendations indicate potable water source, because not just for public use, but also for the dogs themselves.
Okay. All right. And then a couple questions on the specific location recommendations in the report. For the Greenbelt, will the path is the path expected to be moved at all, or the path is staying where it is?
The accessibility trail path that's there currently would not be altered.
Okay. And then were there any assumptions about setbacks between Ardmore Street and the fencing and the path and the fencing?
That would have to be considered in the design with the architect, correct?
And then I know we have the Bark for a Park letter, we have the staff report. The number 2 location is different between those. The staff report subcommittee said Roadaway, the Bark for a Park said Bicentennial. I'm curious from the subcommittee staff report point of view, I guess why that one beat out Bicentennial. Like what compare contrast subcommittee perspective about Bicentennial versus Roadaway.
No, that's a great question. They both fall very similar in comparison. Edith Rodaway has a little bit more amenity access than Bicentennial does. There's a little bit more ample parking in the area. Bicentennial Park is directly on top of residents, to put it lightly. I mean, the wall that's dividing the park from the residential area to the actual park is maybe a foot or two wide before they enter each other's space. There's just very restricted parking available at Bicentennial. Plus, Edith Rodaway has already fencing in place. It has barrier walls and fencing, which would help reduce the infrastructure costs to put a dog park in there, as well as already a dog drinking station and dog waste station at that location as well.
The only other question I have is, you did get the Bark for a Park letter with the materials, and I'm wondering, when can we or should we ask clarifying questions about that letter? Because it's not a staff and subcommittee output, but it's from them. Is now the time to do that, or is that later?
Why don't we wait until we get someone representing, I'm assuming Carla, but
I believe we can invite Bark for a Park up for questions.
For questions.
And then if we want to get into more discussion, we should wait till after public comment. But questions are totally fine to ask
Okay.
of Bark for a Park right now.
Carlo, let me ask my questions, and then you will be the representative for the group? Okay, great, thank you.
And for
Anything else?
clarification, Commissioner Tullis, are you referencing attachment 5, which is their letter of recommendation for
Yes.
these locations?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right. We're moving pretty fast here. So here are my questions timing-wise. We're picking places that are our favorites, but we haven't had a chance to really look at what that would look like, such as if we did pick the green belt, we have no idea what the fencing, how far the fencing needs to be from the street. We don't know what it would look like for people that are walking by. Is it going to be a 5-foot fence, a 6-foot fence? We don't know a lot of the rules of the road yet, correct?
That is correct.
And the rules might change depending on where we choose to have the park. I don't know what that means exactly because we really haven't talked about this much yet. So trying to flesh that out. We can use fencing that's already there, like at Edith Rodaway, and then just add to it on two sides. Or again, we just don't know how much of that park we would use. So this is my concern tonight, is that we're making a lot of assumptions. So I don't exactly know all the correct questions yet.
To clarify for Edith Rodaway, as outlined in the visual graphic in the slide, the proposed location would likely consume half of the green space that's available at that park.
Okay. And then I'm a bit all over here because I've been taking notes. How long would it take to get this on the ballot, in that we would have to, by a certain time, know, okay, we want to use the green belt, then we have to have this open to the public. We need public input. We don't want to put something on the ballot that we definitely don't think we're going to go with. Do we know if we put something on the ballot and then we decide we don't want to put it there? I mean, there is that chance that that could happen. Or are you thinking by August we would be 100% sure of where this would go?
We can't answer that right now.
Right.
Because we have to go through the council discussion, see what their recommendation is. It's not going to be entirely in Parks and Recreation's hands if they recommend a location and we need to do a comprehensive report. It's going to require really Public Works
Right.
to take the lead, and we understand how busy our Public Works team is. So it's really hard to even say what a timeline might be at this point. We would advance it as fast as we could. But again, I don't know if a consultant's going to need to be hired, and there's a process there and approval by council for that as well. So it's really hard to say at this point without having the council discussion yet.
Okay.
And furthermore, it would not be staff's recommendation to add this to a ballot measure without council support for that location first.
Correct. I understand. Your comment about we talked about direct access. One of the things that we did on the Greenbelt a couple years ago was we put in the wildflower butterfly area, and we put in a little bit of a fence around there because we don't want people walking across the street just to get somewhere. So on the Greenbelt, we would have to start looking at accessible areas, adding, we know we can already get to the Greenbelt at Pier. Now we're walking all the way down to 11th Street and then maybe using the parking lot here. We just don't know what legally, how much of a true accessible area. We know people are always going to take the path of least resistance, but I was told that one of the reasons why we put the butterfly area where we did was we were trying to stop people from jaywalking. These are all things that you have on your list that we need to look into?
Yes, we have an ADA consultant that works with the Public Works Department that
Okay.
could hopefully take a look at it, the location, even before talking about a consultant needing to do so.
Have we talked about whether or not this is open to the public, or is this only going to be open to Hermosa residents?
We would not be able to limit it to Hermosa Beach residents because we wouldn't have dedicated staff at any of the locations.
So then that would mean we
Considered.
wouldn't be 100% sure, well, 100% is not probably a good word to use. Right now, we only want dogs in a dog park that have all of their shots, that they're registered with the city. We can't do that if we have dogs from outside the area.
We'll post signage of the requirements.
Okay.
And really the only way that we would be able to verify that is if, there was a reason for our community services officers to respond to an incident.
Okay.
And verify that.
I'm going to go somewhere a little crazy right now. Do we have an MOU signed, sealed, and delivered with Hermosa Little League?
We have 2 agreements with the Hermosa Little League, so
But
What
I know-
type of MOU are
I'm
you-
sorry, the MOU for the improvements that they want to make to the stadium
No.
area. Okay. So an MOU with Bark for a Park is a legal document. We agree that there's going to be an MOU between Bark for a Park and the city when it comes to you gave us a long list of things. And
If we got to that stage where a site was approved by city council and designated a dog park, the city would then enter a contract or agreement with Bark for the Park.
Are you able tonight to give us a list in order of what it would be that we would have to do, whatever area of the city might be chosen, in order to get where we want to? I'm assuming everybody is hoping that it's the Greenbelt. Sounds like that's kind of what we might be leading to. I just think we're going quickly, and I'm confused in order of what it is we need to do to get to finding an area. So if we were to, tonight, if we came to an agreement that a place was there, had all the bells and whistles, do we have a list in order of what it is we would be doing, what you're going to go, what you would be taking to the council? Because it's still, there's a lot going on here.
So again, this is a very high-level overview of what Parks and Recreation staff in the subcommittee saw on our findings of visiting the sites and what we took from the best practice research. So really what the commission can do tonight is first provide a recommendation whether we should have a dog park in the city, identify a location or rank an order of locations for us to consider, and dive into all those elements with Public Works, possibly a consultant, to determine the feasibility of that space and what would be required. Council would ultimately have to approve us spending more staff resources, dedicating Public Works time to build that comprehensive report.
Okay. And last question is, can either Dog for a Park or Brian, What happened to the area behind the bathroom at Valley Park in that, quote, northeast corner? Can you tell me what happened to that area? Because I don't think there's much planning programs that go on there. It's a smaller area, but it is directly behind the bathroom. It's right off of a pathway. It's low, it's beneath the street. I know technically it's closer to the play area, but I'm just curious, did that just fall off the wayside by accident?
Well, I believe you're mentioning, because that was a comment made in the subcommittee's on-site review. I believe you, Chair Elman, in that subcommittee on-site review mentioned, what about this space? That location was never originally proposed by the organization, nor did it seem like there's an appetite for that location to be considered, which I'll allow the group to elaborate on. And the city doesn't really see it as a feasible location as well, just because of the proximity to the playground, to the bathroom facilities, which could, bring concerns with that, as well as, don't quote me on this, but I believe that is a location being considered for tree replanting as well at Valley Park. And they're replanting.
Right, I was just trying to beat them to the punch.
Yeah, which would, that would have to be considered, but.
All right.
Can I just add to that? In part of this process, we hired a park designer that came up because we had some concerns about like ADA and things in Valley Park. So he did look at that particular area. It's actually the smallest of the areas. It's maybe only 4,000 square feet, but we looked at it, and typical thing is to have a dog park at least 50 feet from a playground, and that it's just too close. So he immediately dismissed it, and we sort of went on.
All right, so we're going to ask Carla questions, and then later on we'll open it up to public comment. So, Todd, why don't you start?
Yeah, the question I had was the letter said a preference for some kind of natural surface, a grass surface, kayuku or something, turf. But when you were here in July, I think the preference was for artificial turf. So just curious, what have you learned about turf and why the change in preference?
All of this is an ongoing educational process of which, you find different locations and different ideas, you sort of present it. So when we hired this dog park designer, he suggested this is a thing called kikuyu grass, which is an Australian grass. It is a possible subsurface. The subsurface is the most expensive part of the park to put in, but also maintain. So it's something we'd love to look into. Kikuyu it's kind of, they use it in high-end golf courses like Hillcrest and some of the other ones on the rough. It's an invasive grass. If you put it in, you need to make sure it's quite boarded so it doesn't creep in. But what it does is, especially in environments like ours, which are cool coastal environments, it doesn't need a lot of sunlight, it doesn't need a lot of water. If a dog digs it up, grows right back. It also is very impervious to dog urine. It's worthy of looking into. And I think that's where, if we move forward with this, that's part of the design of what's the right surface would be it. I do think antimicrobial artificial turf is also a great backup plan, and there are other surfaces we could consider.
Okay, thanks.
Tracy, do you have any questions?
I do. One question. I know it seems that the Greenbelt is the priority location. I have a lot of concerns about the Greenbelt location. But let me ask you a question, because this just came up, that the proximity to a playground needs to be about 50 feet away. However, that portion of the Greenbelt that we're all looking at right now is adjacent to the accessible path, which you see kids on there riding their little bikes and their strollers. You see e-bikes going down, which, don't get me started on that. But I think there's a lot of people who play nearby and at least use that accessible path a lot to get to the farmer's market. And I don't know that you could get enough space for the dog park and have 50 feet of setback. The math just doesn't add. So how does the Greenbelt become the priority or preferred location when you want to be 50 feet away? And I know technically it's not a playground, but I can just see little kids putting their little fingers through a fence. And how do you mitigate that in such a tight location?
So that particular, the 50 feet is a dedicated playground. It's not a walkway. You could actually go to Hermosa, Manhattan Beach, and kids walk by that sort of walkway all the time. Any given dog park, I can tell you that kids walk by, and it's not that setback is not the thing for a walkway. It's just it's a commonality for a playground. I'd be more than happy to look into research, but I will say I have never seen an instance where dogs have attacked kids and their fingers going through there. But I'll look to see as we consider it.
I haven't heard of it either. I just know my personal experience. I love dogs, but I don't want to approach a stranger's dog. I've been bit, and I have a fear. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's my concern with the proximity. And I know people walk by the Manhattan Beach Dog Park because it's right there on Valley Ardmore as well, and they walk past. But that was my question right now.
And to further elaborate for you, Commissioner, there's no, as far as we've been, under our best practice, there's no restrictions to proximity of the location to a walkway. It's just a playground apparatus, in which there is no playground apparatus on the Greenbelt. The Redondo Beach location and the Polywog location at Manhattan Beach, dog park locations are literally right next to a pathway there. So that's another observation that we made.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Tom?
Carla, why is the Valley Park location so unloved?
We're so sad. We love Valley Park. That's actually why we hired this designer, because we made a dog park landscape designer, just sort of see the locations we thought would be fantastic. And I will say that Valley Park East, which is the park that's just south of that sort of garden way, and then it actually then aligns along Valley, that side, kind of that high level. You start to walk it, it's very slopey. Which is one reason I think dogs quite love it. But then if you look at the ADA requirements, I'll be perfectly honest, one of the things we realized is that if Valley Park was created again, it would have to be adjusted because it's not totally ADA accessible as it is now. But the park within it, you'd probably have to and maybe this is something that's okay, you'd have to kind of, I'm going to call it bulldoze it, for the entrance. So the entrance is, the entrance has to be 5% or less grade into the entrance, and then beyond that, 5% grade or less into a seating area that's hopefully shaded. That's the ADA requirement. There's probably more. And then we looked and looked and looked. I remember I was very sad that day, which we could do that if that was something that this group decided to recommend. We still love that area. We just looked at, will it destroy the character of Valley Park? And we couldn't say that it wouldn't.
And the other question I have for you is, how much space, in your mind, do you think we can get out of the Greenbelt, square footage?
So I just did the calculation again, Google Earth, so it's not totally perfect. You would not, the maximum space is about 16,000, but I think you really only need about 10, max 12.
And would that be, are you thinking two separate areas?
I think you'd have, let's say it's a long rectangle, and then you'd probably have it connected in the middle. So you have a small dog and a big dog, in case you wanted to open up. But basically, it'd be, that's the total space. Made it up. 7,000 for one, 5,000 for the other. If you actually looked at West Hollywood's dog park, that's about how big it is. Between a big and small dog space.
Right. And you anticipate that the park, that space would incorporate a lot of foliage, trees. There's a lot of trees there.
You keep every single one, at least that's what the designer said.
All right.
There was one I think that was maybe diseased and was about to get, that would go. But we looked at that and he thought they were lovely.
Correct. And to further elaborate on that, this was an on-site walkthrough, very informal with the designer, just hypothetically. No designs were provided. But the location at the Valley Park East location that we're referencing, the designer did express concerns with that location and wasn't ultimately too fond of the location. But when visiting the Greenbelt, was very confident that that location would meet all the standards and requirements for a dog park or a dog run.
I lied. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Commissioner. And just to elaborate, just a reminder, the feasibility list that was provided in the staff report are all viable options. We just list them in order of the most feasible to the least appetite feasible in the city, but all sites are open to consideration for the commission tonight and your recommendation to council.
Carla, did you reach out to the people that are right next to Edith Rodaway and Bicentennial?
We didn't, we could, but we were sort of waiting for the direction from this group and or the city.
As always, thank you.
Elka?
Yeah, you asked the question I had about Valley Park. Now, I went to Bluff Creek in Playa Vista, and they have mounds and hills in that dog park. And I'm wondering, is there a way to kind of incorporate that? You know, do you foresee any kind of structure that would have that at Valley Park East? And how far do you have to go in? I can't remember what the gentleman said when we did the site survey, to have the ADA compliant. Does it have to be the entire park, or could it just be kind of the periphery? Because I like that location, and I like the greenbelt because it's away from residential areas. So I'm trying to think how we could possibly make Valley Park East work.
So in terms of kind of elements of design, I think that that's the creative part if we get to a location. And again, I'm going to back up for a second. You know, we know there's so many unknowns, you know, like what exactly would it look like and how would it be? We were sort of envisioning, and again, it also has to do with like if we pick the greenbelt, we're looking at November before we know or don't know. If that is one of the locations, that's why we were hoping for a backup just in case it doesn't go through. And what we were intending on doing on both of those is if we can narrow down to two, we would invest the money with the city's, maybe Public Works little directions to come up with a design. Doesn't mean it's a firm design, doesn't mean design, but at least people can see it, they can envision it, they can and that's where mounds could come in, or how that could work on in terms of creative uses. So FYI, maybe we can incorporate that. The second thing is that how far in does it have to go in for the Valley Park East? You know, if you remember that area, you have to have an entrance, and that has to be less than 5% to that double gated, entrance, and then probably to the nearest tree. You'd have to have some sort of paved and or artificial turf path that's less than 5% or less into a seating that's ADA compliant with arms that has shade. That is my understanding about the minimum ADA.
And you consider the trees could be shade, right? Because there are some really big trees.
There's a lot of trees in that area.
Yeah. And you prefer Bicentennial, obviously, to Valley Park.
Okay, if the
East.
city would reconsider Valley Park East, I'm going to speak for my board, but I can't totally speak for them, but I'm going to say we still love that area. We were sort of because of the ADA and the thought of it really was our concern with Valley Park is so special. We don't want to degrade because you would have to take, you would have to regrade at least a section of that one. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Let's say for instance, 8, you'd have to make it all 5 to a particular area. If the city's okay with us presenting a design in that perspective, I think we would love the opportunity to just sort of see if that would work.
And Public Works would have to provide more information regarding that. That's a bit outside of our Parks and Recreation scope, but in conversations with them initially and the informal conversation with the designers, once you touch a section of that pathway, that can require all ADA improvements to the entire park because the pathways at Valley Park connect from one side to another. So that's one thing that we need to caution in that consideration of the location, because that would require substantial funding and resources to accomplish.
But perhaps that's also something before we went on that we could get the ADA designer to let us. Is that like a yes or no, or is there something that we have to wait and see if somebody?
Right, that would all be on the design and ADA consultant to navigate.
And I guess I had another question on, the fencing itself. At least the park I visited in, I think it was Beverly Hills, they had, and Santa Monica, they had shrubbery against the fence, so you couldn't really touch the fence or hear as much of the barking. And I think, is that something you would consider, kind of covering the fence for aesthetics and noise mitigation and, kids trying to, I don't know, put their fingers in or taunt the dogs or anything like that?
I think that's a great idea. It all depends on the design we want to take. Like Greenbelt is an example where, like, think about it, it's a big rectangle. So you could have just the prettiest metal fence, or like black metal fences, because they fade into the landscape. That's even what our designer said. But yet, you're right. If that is a concern in terms of kids, then that is something we've seen in a lot of parks where they have a fence and then they've grown up a hedge around it, and it's really, really pretty. And you hardly even know that there's a park behind that. It just depends on the aesthetics of what the city would want.
I think that's it for now. Thank you.
I believe attachment 4 includes one of those examples as well.
Okay, I think the only question is the power behind your MOU. You've got a lot of pledges. You're hoping or you're expecting to pay for a lot, 100,000. We're making up numbers here, but you're comfortable with the fact that you are going to be able to get the support that we need for the building of this park?
So we've gone into this one knowing that we are a resource-scarce city. There's a lot of priorities going on. We get that. And that's why we've sort of realized that in order to make what we hope to come past this asset be added to the city, we're going to have to raise the money as a public. We always kind of knew that. So again, we already have $70,000 in pledges and or donations. And we have this generous matching grant of $250,000 for any future donation of $100 or more. So, again, if you add that up, and let's say we do get that one, that leaves us with like $500,000-ish to build a park. We're not exactly sure the numbers. That's where one of the reasons I like the Kikuyu grass is because it's cheaper than artificial turf, but maybe we do artificial turf. And that's also why, so if we feel comfortable that with the design of it, the permits and all that sort of stuff, and the building of it, we can help fund the building of a great park.
The money that you said that you possibly could be collecting, you said as much as $250,000. Where is that coming from?
We have an anonymous donor who's done a matching grant, so it's $250 plus anybody else's matching.
My question as Lisa heads out the door. So sorry. Just quickly, does the city have some restrictions about taking anonymous money?
Well, in this case, this would be very similar to what we're considering from Little League, is how I would view it with the MOU. So, they've raised funds through donations. That's exactly what Little League is doing, so there would be no concern that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'm concerned. I would like us to be sure that we find out, that we should know who's funding something. So-
Yeah, essentially the cost would go directly onto the organization, who would be paying the vendors and contractors directly. It would not be funneled through the city, at least initially as proposed, but we would have to cross that avenue when we get there.
Yeah, we're working to advance the MOU with Little League for council consideration, so that's going to be really a guiding process for this, for us.
Todd, did you have a question? Okay. I think that's enough for right now, but you'll probably be back.
I have one more.
okay.
Okay. Would you consider, for example, if you wanted to start with the Kikuyu grass, right? If that doesn't work or if it gets torn up, would you be willing to fund artificial turf as well? As we find out more about what works and what doesn't. I know I went to one dog park and it just really reeked of urine. And, I'm just kind of looking at your commitment. Are you willing to kind of adjust and raise money or, have some money set aside should things not work?
I think that's a great thing for consideration. I see part of this excitement about the design process is looking at what we think is the most potentially viable surface. I'd love to actually see some other parks that have done Kikuya. I know I've seen it in the golf course. And I think I've talked to Brian about this one. Given the fact that we know we've seen other, if non-Kikuya grasses not necessarily last, we don't want that. And that if the surface that was initially chosen was Kikuya, I think we'd want to make sure we had a reserve as an organization, should we need to go to plan B. Because what we really want is, we don't want the dog park that we're like, oh my God, we're embarrassed of that, and why did we put that grass in? We want something that's beautiful, and it may be that, we try that and we have to pivot. So our hope is also we don't totally go away. We don't really want to commit to the ongoing maintenance, but we also want to try to have to commit to maybe some ongoing improvements, whatever they may be.
Yeah, because I know some of the parks have wood chips, and then they have decomposed ground, all within the same park. So I imagine there's a reason for that. I don't know if the dogs like it, or it's a cost-saving thing, but the fact that you're willing to be flexible is a good sign.
Thanks, Carla. We are going to open this up to public comment after Amari gives us the rules of the road. It is 3 minutes. We'll give Carla more time, but try and keep that in mind. Amari?
Okay. This is the time for members of the public to address the commission on this item only. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you would like, for the record, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We will begin with members of the public wishing to provide public comment in our chamber. First, we have Jack Levy.
Commissioners, thanks for having us. Really excited to be here and see the level of engagement with you all. I mean, you guys are deep into this. It's pretty obvious. And Brian, the work that you've done, the report, and laying it out with Lisa's help, we'll thank her later. So thorough, and you guys are engaged. It's awesome. It really is great. I can kind of tell from my business background that there's a partnership here that we can work with. At least the beginning of it, we're still getting to know each other, but I think we've got a pretty good outline. What Carla mentioned about the funding, we're pretty committed to making that happen, and we're pretty convinced that we can. There's a couple of things that I heard tonight that might be in the too hard pile. Even with the matching grant from the anonymous donor, at 250 to 500, we can't regrade the entire Valley Park. That's just in the too hard pile. Could we regrade part of it? Possibly. But the funding that we've gotten put forward, the 70,000 we've raised, and then 250 coming forward on a matching basis from the anonymous donor, is contingent at this point on taking forward our Bark for a Park location recommendation and using an MOU to execute it on a go-forward basis. With that, we could take back to our board the reconsideration of Valley. I hear a lot of you very passionate about that location. We were too. That was our first choice. That said, we were steered away from that because of the ADA 5% thing. And the proximity to, there are some things that would need to be worked out there. All of that said, we're excited to be here, and we're excited to be here working with you guys. And on a go-forward basis, we could consider, please consider our proposal to you guys. And then if you want us to look at Valley, it's something we could probably do. We'd have to talk amongst the board to reconsider that. So thank you for your time.
Sorry, I had no idea if I was going to get called, so I decided to put my name in. I'm going to reference the fact that I've sat through all those things in terms of the development of the Parks Master Plan. I've lived the idea that we have a roadmap for things that are going to help improve our city. And I was looking at the other day, and one of the recommendations for different elements is that the city, if they're trying to make improvements, works with 501c3 organizations to help make it happen. We are trying to be that kind of good citizen to partner with you. We feel passionate about that. We're passionate about the city as you are. However you guys move forward with a recommendation, we really want to work with you, and it's been really great working with you, Brian. Okay, thanks.
Good evening, David Graythan. Speaking first, just as a resident, we've got some large parks in town, and we've got some smaller ones that are spread out over on the east side. We have Seaview Park and then Edith Roadway that's being considered. So I like that we have that diversity, and I would rather see us do something where we could perhaps carve out something in a larger part of a larger park versus, say, for example, consuming a lot of Edith Roadway, which is kind of a rare resource over on the east side. You may take a similar view when you consider Bicentennial Park, unless you were to consider that perhaps an extension of South Park. So that was one kind of unique thought I had that I wanted to offer up for you there. Putting on my Public Works Commissioner hat, I do appreciate the way the options have been laid out and all the evaluation criteria have been listed, and a lot of those are infrastructure related, things like the potable water and the ADA accessibility, which is a big one. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the good questions you're asking, and I see that this issue is in capable hands. And then back to the infrastructure thing, if we do sort of carve out something in an existing larger park, it seems that generally speaking, there's a chance that we're going to take advantage of some of the existing infrastructure that's at those locations. I appreciate the questioning about Valley Park. So I think you're on the right track there in perhaps revisiting that. And we talked about the east side and the north side, and I'm not sure what's wrong with what I'll call the south side or the southeast side. It's pretty flat, although there is the challenge of the large slope going up to the Kiwanis Rotary parking lot, which folds into the ADA considerations there. And also then, if we're leaning towards a carve out of something large, the Greenbelt is large. I assume that there has been some engagement with the city attorney that perhaps needs a little more poking at. I know that this whole thing with the Greenbelt, it's a super sensitive thing with the community. We know that historically, but maybe the subcommittee can think about some more good questions to ask about the legal aspect there. So I would poke at that a little bit. And then getting back to my comment about, for example, Edith Roadway, the picture that was shown, it didn't carve out the entire existing green space there, but it would be good to double check on what are your space requirements for all these different options, because I would hate for you to say, pick Edith Roadway as second choice, the Greenbelt doesn't pan out, all of a sudden we needed more space than it was, and then we've lost a precious resource on the east side, just to give you a scenario there. So thanks a lot, appreciate all the effort, and continue on.
Anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Okay, Amari, anyone online?
We will move forward with virtual comment. We do have Tony Higgins on the line.
Good evening, Mr. Higgins.
Hello. I'd like to maybe take us in a slightly different direction. I'm concerned with the size that we're talking about, it looks like we're looking at between 5,000 square feet on the low end to roughly 10,000 square feet, maybe 11 on the high end. And well, 5,000 square feet is roughly the size of a basketball, give or take. And 10,000 square feet is roughly the size of 2 basketball courts. To give you a different perspective, a football field is 50,000 square feet from goalpost to goalpost. So the question is, at 5,000 square feet, or roughly the size of a high school basketball court, how many dogs are going to be able to operate or be allowed in that at the same time? And if we go all the way up to the high end, 10,000, how many dogs are we really talking about being able to be in that area at the same time? Size could be very, very important. I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about doing this for, building all this for 4 or 5 dogs that can be in the area at the same time, what are the recommendations for concurrent dogs per square foot? That's fundamental. And then if we look at the beach location, how many square feet is that? My understanding is it's much bigger than 10,000 square feet. How many dogs could occupy that at the same time? I just hope we're not doing all this for something that, is only going to allow, 5 or 7 dogs in the area concurrently. And I just hope you think about it in terms of the number of dogs per square foot. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Seeing no other hands raised.
All right, I'll bring it back one more time. Anybody in the room have something to share? All right. So I'll bring it back, and who wants to start a conversation? I could look to my left. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, I could start. Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't have more definitive ADA information, since that seems to be a key criteria and requirement for some of these sites. It's unfortunate we don't have that. Sometimes you don't have all the information you need to make a decision. But, I trust that the subcommittee has spent time thinking about these things and looked at it. I think the offer of Bark for a Park to help cover some of these costs, if Bicentennial is chosen as the number 2 as opposed to Edith Roadaway, is probably worth consideration given the cost that it will take to build this park. So, I would love for Valley to work in some way too, but it seems we don't have the information to know it will. And we should move this thing forward. It's clear people want it. There's a lot of pets in the city. And so I'm comfortable moving forward with the top 3 options, maybe swapping Bicentennial up for Roadaway as well. That's where I am.
All right. Tracy?
I want to first thank Bark for a Park. You guys set the bar really high for partnership with the city, and to the subcommittee and the staff for all the work. You've given us a lot of information, which is helpful. I want to talk about the Greenbelt for a minute, because there's a lot of things that make it an attractive option: the location, the accessibility. I really struggle with changing the zoning for the Greenbelt to allow something to be built there. Several years ago, the fact that you couldn't build something on the Greenbelt really helped the residents stop something that a large group of us didn't want. And I just am concerned about the slippery slope. Like if we open the door for this, and I realize this is not infrastructure, it's not, it's fencing, it's maybe a bench, it's things like that. But I really am concerned about the slippery slope of if you do it here, could you do something down the road, down the path, down the green belt for something else that some other group finds very important. And I really struggle with that big idea, with that big concept of what that means for the city, for the residents, and where that could go. And I don't want to rain on the parade, but that's a concern to me. I am concerned with the Greenbelt location in terms of smell and noise, where there are so many people walking by where, a portion of a park, it is a little more separated. For example, Bicentennial, it's sort of an unofficial dog park as it is. Every time I go by there, there's dogs, there's dog trainers, there's things like that. And I wonder, that happens a lot. I wonder if the residents don't complain about that, would they mind? I don't know, because no one's asked them. So those are just a couple thoughts that I've been having. I'm in favor of a dog park, seeing that it be in the right location, but I'm curious what a study would show us later in terms of costs, because if the city's going to take this on as a maintenance cost, I think Carla said it, she knows the city's stretched thin, and what does that look like? What does that look like for Parks and Rec staff, and what does that look like for Public Works staff, and how do we juggle all of that? And like I said, I don't have a problem with the dog park. I think it's a great idea. I'm not in favor of a location on the beach for a lot of different reasons, but it doesn't seem high on the list anyway, so I will leave it there for now.
Thank you. Tom?
First, subcommittee staff, a lot of good work. You guys out there, no community group has been as effective as you've been since I've been in town, at least in the last couple of decades I can think of. So congratulations on that. I'm going to go through this a little bit differently and then get to, where the choice, in my mind, where the choices are. I don't think the beach is an option. I don't like the idea of unleashed dogs on the beach. I used to run on the beach in the morning, and the thing that would totally make it unenjoyable for me is when I'm running and there's a large dog on the beach running after me. I just don't want to do it. And I think it's crazy that we would think about doing this, which essentially gives Redondo a problem at the same time, and they're going to have unhappy apartment people. So I don't want to do the beach. Edith Rodaway and Bicentennial. I know as a homeowner, if the city were to say we're going to build a dog park right across the wall from you or right across the alley from you, I would be livid. Does that mean that they will be livid? I don't know. I go through Bicentennial a lot. Occasionally I see dog. I don't see them all the time. Doesn't mean that they're not there all the time. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they think it's fine. Maybe there's dogs and they will be welcoming of a dog park. But until I hear that, I would never advocate to put a dog park in somebody's backyard. I just think that's, I can't do it. Valley. I've always thought Valley is the location for the dog park. I hear the ADA concerns. I did ADA litigation, so I'm not unfamiliar with what the issues are. I think we need to hire somebody to look at Valley and figure out a way to meet the ADA concerns and put the dog park there. Now, if that can't be done, then what do we do? Or while we're doing that, what do we do? So that brings you to the green belt. I like the fact that it requires a vote, which means it's not just my decision. It would be the town's decision to have a dog park there. And if you put it on the ballot and everybody in town, or 50% of the people in town said, let's have a dog park, and yeah, let's do a dog park. So the vote certainly protects us. So that I'm very comfortable with. And I'll tell you, I probably would vote no because I don't want a dog park at the Greenbelt there. But I'm comfortable with the idea that it would go to a vote. So I guess where I'm coming down, and I would just add a couple of thoughts because we've had this. I did look up, you know, AI does some things pretty effectively, and one thing it does do is it searches public records. But Redondo is 5,000 to 15,000 out-of-pocket maintenance. Manhattan Beach out-of-pocket is around 10. Culver City is 5 to 8. And then if you assign labor costs, you're looking something more like 20,000 a year in maintenance costs. So the maintenance costs aren't going to stop this. So I guess what I would like to see happen is that we dig in to Valley. We hire a consultant. We ask the group to fund that consultant. Tell us what we can put in Valley, or if we can't put anything in Valley. I'm also fine with recommending to council that they continue through this process of possibly putting on the fall ballot the Greenbelt option. It has to be, you know, we have to continue with that process if it's going to happen by November. And if it doesn't happen by November, you're going to end up waiting another 2 years. So, you know, we should consider that, we should continue with that process. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Elka, what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to thank Bark for a Park. I mean, you guys have put in hundreds of hours into the research. I know Carla has gone up and down the state and to New York, Florida, Utah, Texas, and looked at dog parks. And, you know, you've looked at everything from fencing to signage to turf and maintenance models as well. I think my preference has always been Valley Park. And I like that location because it's a park. There are dogs already there. I know there's a group that meets there almost every night and lets their dogs off leash and run in a little area. Not the main field, but I've seen that as well. So that's a very popular area for people with dogs. It is, I think, one of the most advantageous areas because it's not right up against homes or a busy neighborhood. You have parking there and access from all different parts of the city off of the Greenbelt. I do like the Greenbelt option. I'm not opposed to that, but that's going to take a vote. And I think what Commissioner Maroney said about the ADA, let's look into that. I mean, if that's a possibility, it's worth looking into because you have shade there, you have water there, you have lights there, you have a lot of these elements there that you don't have in the other parks. I think with Bicentennial, I'm very concerned about the neighbors in that area because right now there are a few dogs that are there that walk and do the training, but if you're going to have, you know, the entire city congregating, pet owners congregating there, it's not great parking. It is off the Greenbelt, but there are homes right across the street. Now, I know in Santa Monica, they kind of self-police over there if dogs are making a lot of noise. And they have this rule that says you have to remove your dog if it barks, cries, or yelps more than 5 minutes in a 1 hour period. And I mean, I guess we could put rules like that, but it's all very self-policing. So you want to be in an area where if somebody isn't complying by these rules, it's not going to cause a bunch of calls to the city and to the police department and noise complaints and all of that. The beach option, I'm not in favor of. I think Valley Park and Greenbelt is where I would go for. And I guess we have to vote, do we want a dog park and then which locations? And do we recommend up to 3? Is that kind of the we can do it, whatever number?
You could do 1, you could do 2, 3, none. It's totally up to the commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you, Brian, as well, for walking all the dog parks with us and looking at all the options. I think we had a lot of input, and this is like a master class on how a nonprofit can partner with the city to do research And I mean, this is, the report itself was almost like a consultant did it. So it was very helpful, and your additional research was helpful as well. I can say for sure that I tried, and I know Commissioner Ellman tried as well, to get information on how much it costs to build dog parks and the maintenance. And literally, I have sent, I think, about 15 emails, and people just kept referring me, especially Santa Monica. They kept referring me from one person to the other. No, talk to the architect. No, you have to talk to Public Works. No, you have to talk. And I got half an answer back, and it is very, very difficult to get them to respond. And I know you've had a similar challenge, and I've been a reporter all my life, and this was hard. You know, I'm used to people blowing me off, but this was beyond. So we did try very, very hard to get some figures and some information from people, but I think the best for me was to go to all these locations to see what was there, and all the different options. For example, Beverly Hills has a fob card, key fob, only for members, so that's a private place. Santa Monica, you can have non-residents get permits. So there's all different types of options you can do, or keep it open to everyone. So I think it was the best thing is just to go visit these places. And I personally think, we can all work together to make this a really beautiful dog park. We've all seen the one in Redondo Beach on 190th. It's just a dirt patch. I mean, I have a white dog. I would never take my dog there. It's just every day you'd have to bathe him. So we want to make it beautiful, and so dogs can enjoy it, and so people feel safe that are walking by there. So thank you to everyone who helped.
Thank you to everyone who helped. And Brian, I know we put you through a lot, lots of phone calls, lots of emails. I am worried about making, even though we are only an advisory vote, I don't think I've ever been involved in something that is still so ambiguous, and that, as Thomas said, we don't really know about the access issues. We don't know what we're going to use. Is it going to be decomposed granite? Is it going to be turf? Is it going to be grass? Is it going to be wood chips? We haven't made any decisions on anything, so this is quite frustrating for me. I would like, and again, we haven't talked to Public Works, so it's very, very frustrating. The Valley Park issue location takes away from, possibly takes away from Parks and Rec and our summer program, and also could be a problem for activities like, thank you, Shakespeare in the Park, things like that. So I am concerned because we haven't really seen what that location looks like. We haven't put up tape. We don't know how high things are going to look. So I am extraordinarily frustrated and find it difficult to make an educated decision on the Greenbelt versus Valley Park. I agree the beach is a dead issue for me. Bicentennial Park, I walk by that park many times. I do see people with their, a dog or two, but you've got people whose bedroom windows back up to the south end of it and the north. We've got people across the street, really would question how they would feel about that. And that's another thing, is we haven't reached out to anyone, so we're trying to make a decision on something that we have no idea how the neighbors are going to feel. So I'm wondering if we even have enough information that we should be moving this forward to the council. So that's where I am with this, and I understand that we're only moving forward a little, but I have learned the hard way, that when we give someone a direction and they go in that direction and then we don't like what we find, it's too late to change. And I've had that happen to me a couple times up here, where all of a sudden it didn't make sense and someone said, well, we're already too far. So I honestly don't know where I'm going to go with this tonight. So Todd, you felt like you had something to say?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's frustrating because I think we're immediately thinking about the facility and what it looks like and how big it's going to be and how big the fence. But I believe our goal tonight is really to focus more on the location rather than the facility. And I know it's hard. Even I go there and start thinking about it, but I think making a recommendation for a location, because all these locations have been deemed as feasible to create a dog park. Some cost more than others. Some have more unknowns than others about that cost. But maybe if we really focus on the location only and try to limit our debate to that, it might be helpful.
I just wanted to add, the commission's recommendation is not necessarily that the location that you're prioritizing or prioritize the locations you prioritize in a list are going to be the locations a dog park is. You're making a recommendation to City Council that ultimately is saying, based on the information that Parks and Recreation was able to provide through best practice research and site visits, we recommend looking further into this location and providing a more comprehensive report on this location and looping in Public Works and possibly a consultant. The direction from City Council was very focused on Parks and Recreation reviewing BARC for a parks proposal. It didn't include having Public Works look into this item and dedicating resources to find out all the information that would need to be in such a comprehensive report and all those details. So council really needs to make that direction to involve the Public Works Department, have Public Works put staff resources towards it, and again, possibly a consultant if it expands past what Public Works is able to do.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Exactly. So we're looking at the feasibility of the location. Is it feasible, AKA possible, for a dog park to exist at one of these locations based on all the research and information that was presented?
All right, well, does someone want to make a feasible, share some information? Does someone want to make a motion?
I could try to make a motion
Okay.
that the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission recommends to City Council that yes, there is feasibility for a dog park in Hermosa Beach, excluding the beach, because I think we're all in agreement on that. And that they should look more into the locations for a dog park.
Please
I don't
help
think
me.
that does it. I just don't think it does it. I think
We
we
need a
have
little
to
bit
make
more direction.
I
I passed
need to
the
tell-
baton.
Okay. I think we need to tell council what we think about these locations.
Okay.
So I think we should recommend that the city proceed towards building a dog park. That we recommend that one candidate for the dog park is Valley, and we would like Valley to be looked at in more detail. And as third prong of the recommendation is that we recommend that the city pursue the possibility of putting on the November ballot a referendum that the dog park be put on the greenbelt. That keeps all the balls in the air. It excludes some of these other parks that no one really wants to go to. So that would be the motion. It would be a three-part motion. Yes to a dog park. Let's get another look at Valley and the ADA issues. Let's proceed with the possibility of putting a referendum on the November ballot to have the dog park put on the greenbelt.
I would second that.
How do you feel about that, Todd?
Well, I guess, just trying to honor the work of the subcommittee. I know even in Bark for the Park has, the number 2 option, right? It's difficult because I don't know if we should be saying those options are off the table But I think what we're saying is, with this motion is that those are our top two recommended options. And is it worth adding any more complexity to that motion? Probably not. So I'm just a little.
Are you thinking of another location?
No, no locations. I'm just thinking about the recommendations from the subcommittee staff report and Bark for a Park, and what we're kind of saying with this motion is, forget about that number 2 option that the subcommittee came up with. Forget about the number 2 option that Bark for a Park wants. So it's just,
It's a recommendation. Nothing's off the table. City council can go whatever direction they choose.
Yeah.
It's
We will
our
include-
recommendation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Vice Chairperson Horowitz. We will include the background, which will include all the options and what was initially presented to the commission. So council will be aware of the order of staff's recommendations and Bark for a Park's recommendations.
okay.
And I think it's, well, at least my understanding, that Bark for a Park did Bicentennial as a backup, but they kind of didn't pursue the Valley option as, as they should have, I guess, or what they really wanted because of the
lack of
ADA.
information, right? Lack
Yeah,
of certainty,
yeah.
lack of information, yeah.
I know they like
Okay.
it, and they're also in favor of it, but given
Yeah.
the information we had, I think they went with Bicentennial as a second
Yeah.
choice.
Okay, I mean, understanding that council will see, the list of things considered, and this is kind of what bubbled up, I'm comfortable with that.
And sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to add, I have been note-taking for some of the additional concerns and requests for additional information to be considered, which staff will do their best with collaboration with the subcommittee and Bark for the Park to add that additional information in the council report as well. Things like additional ADA information, proximity from residents to the location, more information on the square footage of the exact locations, things like that.
And for the record, I'd like to modify when I said staff's recommendation. We're not making a recommendation as staff, just the list that was presented in staff's report.
Does anyone have anything else to share? All right. Do you want to make that motion one more time?
No, Tom made the motion and Elka seconded. and
Okay.
Tom took the good words out of my mouth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Motion carried 5-0.
So Lisa, this will be going before the council on April,
14.
Yeah.
okay? April 14th. Thank you, Bark for a Park. All right, next, we'll be moving on to future agenda items. Lisa, would you provide an update?
I certainly will. Cue up the presentation. And advance to the next slide. All right, so the remaining items shown on this slide that were deferred to the commission by city council prior to the item returning to city council include providing access to a pool for the community. Staff has not had the available resources to continue discussions with Redondo Union High School regarding a potential joint use agreement or to pursue any additional conversations with nearby pool facilities. The plan was always to bring this item forward, though, with staff conducting best practice research to present to the commission on surrounding cities that operate municipal pools in order to clearly demonstrate the realities associated with constructing, maintaining, and staffing an aquatics facility. And due to the current workload and resource limitations, staff hasn't been able to initiate this research just yet. However, as we just saw with the recent dog park item, community advocates were able to successfully assist in compiling such research to help advance discussions. So we have provided a list of comparable cities and key research topics to pool advocates in the hope that they can assist in gathering this information to help move the commission's review of this item forward. So I had a conversation with Tara, who spoke here before the commission before this week, and shared all that information with her. The other item remaining is a review of the lawn bowling club operations. We had prepared this item for the commission review for this month, for this meeting, but upon legal review of the staff report, this item actually does require additional discussion before advancing any formal review with our legal team. So I know that's vague, but when we bring the report forward, we'll have more information because we're awaiting the formal review of it by the legal team. And on this slide, we also have the current subcommittees. I have no further updates on these at this time. Obviously, the dog park subcommittee's been working hard and presented their recommendation tonight, and we have been working with our youth program subcommittee, and Commissioner Maroney shared that update. So that concludes my future agenda items report.
May I ask, just for a clarification on the, is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if the order. For the access to a pool, was it also, I guess, did you also look into neighboring cities and sharing pools? Was that part of that's going to be part of the whole report, right?
So right now, we're focusing on the best practice research. We have had some conversations with Redondo Union High School, and it seems there might be a potential there to discuss a joint use agreement, since they do use our volleyball courts for their volleyball team. We just haven't been able to advance additional discussions at this point. But that would definitely be an option that's presented in the info item that would return to the commission. It would be the best practice research to show the realities of what it would take to have a pool here in Hermosa, and then that would be the other option, is just to continue to pursue joint use agreements.
One question, just elaborating a little bit. I saw on social media today that Redondo is moving forward with building new pickleball courts at the old Aviation High School. Do you know if a pool is included in that? I don't know how you would know that, but you might. You know a lot.
I don't think it is, but I can't say for sure. I believe it was just the pickleball courts. I know that was an item of discussion at one point,
Yeah,
but
I do
I'd
too.
have to check. I believe we have a council subcommittee still that was working with Redondo on what those recreation facilities would be, so I can find out.
Okay. Thank you.
No questions, Todd? All right, then we will move on to the Community Resources Director's report.
Okay, I'm just waiting for the presentation to queue up. Okay, next slide. The Spring and Summer 2026 Recreation Brochure went live a couple weeks ago, and registration officially opened yesterday, Monday, March 2nd, and the brochure is available at hermosabeach.gov/recreation. We did update the brochure format to provide a simpler, more user-friendly viewing experience. So one of the key improvements is really enhance interactivity with the brochure. So when you're viewing the brochure online, users can click directly on the program title to be redirected to that program's registration page, where they can see all the available sessions and complete enrollment. In the past, it would be class numbers linked to each class page, and it would be harder to navigate to the actual full session of offering. So we're really excited about how the brochure is now, and kudos to Cambria for improving it for our community. And we look forward to a great spring and summer season of programming. Next slide. All right, so we did provide an update on 2 CIPs at our last meeting. Brian provided such updates, and unfortunately, I don't have an update from Public Works to share on the community gas line repairs since our last meeting, but we'll continue to keep the commission posted on that. Regarding the Kelly Courts Improvement Project, the portion of the project that involves the basketball courts is expected to be completed now by the first week of April. With regard to the tennis and pickleball courts, Public Works has shared that due to unforeseen site conditions that were identified, the city had to retain a different contractor to perform the resurfacing work. So Public Works is awaiting confirmation from this contractor of their availability and anticipated start date for such work. So I don't have a completion date for that portion of the project just yet, but again, I will make sure to keep the commission posted. Next slide. Registration is now open for the free Spring Culture Club camp that is offered in partnership with the city. The camp days are listed on the flyer shown on this slide, along with the registration link. The camp is going to be held at the 13th Street Lifeguard Tower and will include surf and volleyball lessons, ocean education, art activities, wellness programming, and lunch for the participants. So we're really excited to provide this opportunity through this partnership for youth to engage in healthy outdoor educational recreation while connecting with the beach. Next slide. All right, so to provide an update on an item that was on the commission's agenda last month regarding the basketball courts west of Clark Field, the plan is to remove 3 of the 6 basketball courts, retain 3, with all backboards facing the same direction to reduce the potential for formal gameplay. So they would just be the hoops for shooting. And Public Works has confirmed that the court resurfacing can be incorporated into an upcoming slurry seal project that would take place in about 4 months. So in the interim, the preferred approach is to cut and remove the extra poles, reset and rehang the remaining hoops at the desired heights, which would be 2 9-foot hoops and 1 8-foot. And we would install signage and reopen the 3 hoops as soon as possible. Right now, we have installed installed 1 hoop in the interim until we get all 3 back up. And this item is going to go before City Council at its March 24th meeting for just formal approval of the plan. It will be a consent calendar item, but we met with the community and they were very much in support of this plan. Next slide. All right, so to provide an update to the commission on our transition from ActiveNet to Rec Technologies, the full implementation timeline is projected to be a total of 4 months. We are really kicking off the project next month. And during that time, we're going to be meeting with all full-time department team members at various levels to kick it off. Staff training is planned for mid-June, and we're targeting a go-live date in August. Throughout this period, we will be conducting public outreach to keep the community informed about the upcoming changes, and we're going to make sure to keep the commission up to date every step of the way and of that community communication plan once it's completely finalized. And that concludes my director's report.
Go ahead, Tom.
This is a request of one, so carries no weight. But on your community director's report, could you incorporate a slide to always be there that says discussions we are having about possible events? And the reason I want that is so we don't have the Nike thing where I just find out about Nike actually that day because I was out of town and didn't read the report until that morning. And then we had a similar thing with the Rams, a different kind of thing. But if we could have a slide that says, hey, we're talking to the Kings about this and this is where we're at and it's not before you right now, that would be helpful to me.
Would we be able to, so I would be hesitant, okay, let me start over. We have lots of discussions about a lot of events. So what I can do is I can add a slide when an application has formally been submitted and give a commission an update that we've received this application and we would plan on advancing it at a future commission meeting for review.
That would be perfect.
That's a great idea,
Okay.
Tom. Thank you, Lisa. Couple things. One, regarding how you dealt with the basketball hoops. I think the city did an amazing job. That was a quick meeting. We met last week, and the neighbors were there, and I thought the city did an amazing job listening to the kids and the parents, and even let the residents discuss 8-foot, 9-foot, 10-foot, which way the baskets should go, whether the sun is. It was an amazing 45 minutes, and everything got done. And I really, really appreciate the effort that went into that. That was amazing. I forgot to mention the fundraiser that we had, but that was last weekend regarding the Culture Club. And I thought that it was a great event, and I hope that it is as successful for us as it has been in Manhattan Beach. I'm hoping that the residents here, as well as people that want to register for it, will find a lot of support for it. I know they had a fundraiser. I don't know how much money they raised, but I know that they could use some help. I do have some questions for you, Lisa, and as usual, there are a few. Again, the fence, we are going to have that black fence all around the basketball courts, the tennis courts, and the pickleball courts. This is going to be a big black fence all the way around.
It's a black fence with a black windscreen. It was before a green fence with a green windscreen.
It just seems to be a little bit darker than, you literally can't see a single thing inside. So I'm disappointed with that. I understand. My understanding was we were only using that around the basketball courts because we were having the homeless court. I didn't realize that we were using it for a sense of privacy. So I missed that comment. The trash can.
Sorry, Chair. Just to reiterate, windscreens are used for wind protection in the sport. So we have them typically around tennis courts, pickleball courts, and
Right.
basketball court
But
facilities.
if you stand in front of
Similar
those,
to the
these,
community center.
you can't see anything in the community center. You can see into the courts. It might as well just be a brick wall. And maybe that'll help with the sound, but I just was very, very surprised that we're going to be driving by and people are just going to be looking at a big black screen and not have a clue what's going on inside there. The water fountains at South Park, the water fountain at next to the basketball courts haven't been used. And the reason why it came up was I'm having a competition with a fellow council member that is the only drinking fountain that we have for the Clark area completely. And I'm hoping that if we don't get a new one, that we will make that one look better, because right now it hasn't been used and it's really dirty. And I have noticed that we have a problem with that in the city of keeping things clean in a consistent basis. So it's again, we've had trucks and all that cement, but we only have one drinking fountain in the Clark facility. Is that correct?
And we could certainly put in a work order request for
Okay.
any cleaning, which I believe it's already on the contractor's responsibilities when that facility reopens fully. But we do want to encourage the public, including commissioners, council members, any residents, that if you see any issues or concerns at any of our public facilities, you're welcome to use Go Hermosa for a work order so we could get that service. Regarding the water fountain drinking stations, we do have 2 more located on the ball diamonds in the dugout facilities. So that one is the most public accessible, but we do have 2 more within the Clarkfield main
Well, it's
field
good to know. I had no idea that they were
dugout
there.
areas.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. The trash cans at South Park, we took when we replaced the trash cans in the city with those brown ones, we used the old ones and we moved them to the park. And they're just in really bad condition. They're dirty. So I will do another Go Hermosa on that, but I just thought I would mention
Are those
that.
plastic trash containers that you're
Well, no,
seeing
they
around
have,
the field?
they say Hermosa on them. They're the concrete, and then on top is the
those ones.
plastic
Correct,
container.
yes.
So,
Chair Almond, since you did mention that to me, we submitted a request today, a work
Okay.
order.
And I would like to note as well, I don't know if you saw recently, we do have a new recycle dumpster container at Clarkfield as well. So we were having issues with overflowing of trash because recycle items were going into the trash containers. So staff did put in a request, and we have additional recycle container there now.
perfect. Gossip on the street, camp sold out in 10 minutes.
Valley Park Summer Day Camp?
Yes.
6 minutes.
I'm
We
telling
did
you.
increase.
It was
in-
a personal record. So, yeah.
No,
And
that's
well,
okay.
as someone who hangs out in front of the school, I got an earful about that.
Yeah.
Do we have any plans of increasing the size of that camp? Are we going to hire more people, or are we leaving it the way it is?
We increased it by 10 this year.
Okay.
And part-time staff retention hiring is difficult. So we did what we were able to do for this summer, and we're still evaluating what other expansion options we can do to continue to meet the need.
Okay. Are we moving the smaller children to South Park this year?
Not this year.
Not this year.
This
Okay.
year, we had to program those rooms for our contract class summer camps, contract class program summer camps. We're going to have Lego camps and Beach Kids yoga there at South Park.
Excellent.
And that's really due to us not having a timeline for when we'll have the 2 rooms in the South Wing back to program at. So it just didn't work timeline-wise to be able to accommodate all the camps that we wanted to offer to initiate that this coming summer. This coming summer.
And lastly, have we talked to Public Works about the mounds of dirt and the vehicles that are on the southwest corner of Clark Field?
We certainly have. I just don't have a plan
Okay,
to share from Public Works just yet.
perfect. All right. Anybody have anything that they want to ask Lisa?
Yeah, I got a couple. I did see the new brochure. It definitely is more aesthetically pleasing. Although unfortunately, it's not hosted in Hermosa, so when you click on it, you get this message saying, you're going outside Hermosa, this content is not part of the city. I hope that doesn't dissuade people from continuing on and registering for programs. And then questions about the Rec Technologies project in the statement of work that was approved by council back in November or so. The project was originally 6 months in duration. And now it's 4, so just curious about who made the decision to shorten it. Was that us or the vendor?
The vendor shared with us that it would just be 4 months.
Uh-huh. And does that, what impact does that have on resources or,
We're not foreseeing the shortened time frame being that impactful on our staff.
and it's the same scope of project though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's changed since what we presented.
Okay. And then, given the go-live date is now estimated for August, I believe that puts us really close to the opening of registration for fall and winter programs, typically, which is, first couple days in August. So what's the risk mitigation plan for, assuming the system is intended to be used for registration of fall and winter, as opposed to ActiveNet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's our risk mitigation plan now that we have no project timeline buffer in the project timeline?
So we would be working, so it's really hard for me to say at this point without, Cambria's taking the lead on the communications with Rec US, so I'd have to provide more detail on that fall-winter timeline once I reconnect with Cambria after that initial meeting in April.
Okay.
Just a quick question on the Clark Building and the acoustics. Did we ever get an update? I know it was supposed to go to Public Works, maybe? That was, I think, the last time I brought it up. I don't know if Director San Clemente had, because I know at the State of the City, I was like, oh, wow, it's really working well, but I think they had a different system in place from.
Well, there were minor adjustments that were made to the speaker placement and the direction of the speakers that I know I had shared at a previous commission meeting. But right now, I don't believe I have more of an update since the updates we were able to make through staff. I think that Public Works was going to engage with the consultant, for lack of a better word, that reviewed the acoustics originally, but I haven't got a timeline for that or the outcome of that if it's happened.
Yeah, I think any way we could let them know that most people don't want to put a microphone right up to their lips to be heard, and that's kind of what you have to do. I've been to women's club meetings, and if they just have it, a couple of inches away, you can't hear anything, and nobody's really used to having a microphone right at their mouth. So anything we could let the company know about that, or if they can make some adjustments acoustically, that'd be great.
The last thing, I understand that we have a postcard that's going out to the residents for the After Dark Run. You said that was going out to every resident.
Yes, and business.
And do we know when this card's going out?
We will be sending out some city communications exactly when we know the day it's going to go out. So community members also are receiving direct contact from the city about it coming through and the contents of what will be on the postcard, but it's going to be sometime this week.
And is it going to tell the residents when it will be before the council?
That's the purpose of the
Okay.
card, is that council will be reviewing this event at a public hearing at its March 10th meeting.
Well, March 10th is right around the corner,
Right.
so we can't be sending this out for them to see on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going out to print and mail this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that would be great. I would really like to have the residents see that. Great.
Can I ask one more thing? On that letter or postcard that's getting sent out, why does it not say Nike? I mean, it has the swoosh, but it doesn't say it's a Nike event. Is there a reason why
I
we're
couldn't
not?
answer that, unfortunately. I mean, I know the title of the event doesn't include Nike. It's After Dark Tour LA. But that's a Nike decision.
In the opposite, so the postcard's going to be double-sided. One will be the visual of their graphics, and then the other side will be all the information regarding the upcoming city council meeting, encouraging public comment. And on that backside of that postcard does include the Nike After Dark Tour as the title. But I think they do, the brand of the check carries a lot of weight. But it does detail it on the backside of the postcard.
All right, anything else? All right, well, then I will adjourn our meeting, our Parks and Rec meeting to April 16th. Remember that, folks. We're moving around. Thank you very much.